Hey guys, what's up? This is Full Spools 123 with day 18 of our quarantine vlogs. So, if you've been watching my YouTube channel, I just started releasing my daily quarantine vlogs from last week. So, most of the ones from this week, the third week of these, daily quarantine vlog challenge, are going to be uploading also individually. Which was a wonderfully constructed sentence that just came out of my mouth hole. So last week, I showed you what's on my other wall. Now we're doing simply neurological jokes. But I realized I never actually explained what all this dumb fuck stuff I have on my wall is for. And I think that's definitely a miss. Because, I put shit on my wall for a reason, because who doesn't? And I think it would be really fun to, and mostly just because I needed more filler, to actually talk about more of my, room decor. I figured that way, when I eventually get around to doing a honest-to-goodness room tour, we don't have to stop and poke and pick at every single fucking thing that I've put on my wall, because this one way to describe my personal aesthetic is horribly cluttered and absolutely busy. So, I'm gonna, just flip the camera and let's get on to the voiceover. There we go. So, I'm just being a little sneaky and starting off on my, wall that's in between them. And so, just guessing from these dimensions, you can see definitely how small my room is. Once I actually get furniture in it, though, it'll be big enough for, the little Macy's. I actually used to have this room when I was, a little kid, and I managed to fit so much more stuff into it. So starting up, you can see my small obsession with geographical maps. And I think I have about 10 of these here. Let's see. Oregon, Illinois, Iowa, Tennessee, Nebraska, Missouri, Wyoming, Connecticut, Montana, Georgia, and Alaska. So I have not been to these states. Well, I've been to Oregon, obviously, but I have not been to just any of these states. But both my aunt and my uncle were truck drivers. And so my Aunt Amy brought me, let's see, I believe all of the ones from Georgia to Illinois. So I can actually, show those to you. I actually bought the Oregon one at the Army-Navy store in White City. The Easy Fold one I actually bought from my friend Chris because he was starting a bug-out bag for, what is it? Apocalyptic prep? Doomsday preppers, that's the phrase. So, he had a bag for that, and so I bought him maps just hey, if the war was, smoke and create a pit of radioactive doom, we all know the highway system's still going to be there. And Uncle Michael sent me my Alaska map. So I just wanted to show you there because that's actually what I have above my window. And so I have a big ass window that's right to the side of me when I'm filming. So that actually gives me a lot of natural light. And we can see what's actually on the top of my wall. And you can't really see it because it's never in frame, but it's there, so now you know. So the first painting I have here, and I don't think you would ever see it, I don't think you've seen it in my channel very often, just because it was kind of in a corner in my old room in Kisbay. This was a painting that we made for, let's see, an art class that we had to take in college. We had basically just had to take things so we could understand, colors and aesthetics. And it was fun, though I can't really say that it really helped. But I enjoyed it, because I like art. I never did well in art, but I enjoy it. Next up is actually my license plate to the Pontiac. If you guys don't remember when I did a video about the car, I'll put a little card up top. And that I actually had to I guess lack of a euphemism, junk my car when I was in Coos Bay, and so this is just a memento that I keep from it. Had that car 21 years, I loved it. You want to see me cry like a little bitch, there'll be a link. Next up is the Girl on the Train poster, and I've had this since the start of my channel. It used to belong to one of my roommates, but then she threw away all of her posters because she got sick of the aesthetic, and I like that one because I like minimalism and black and white. Next up is actually an older poster that I had, and this is a Matador. If I remember correctly, this was a vacation gift that my Uncle Tony gave my grandmother. So this actually was in the room before I moved in. I basically got this room after my grandma passed away, and this used to be her old room. Before that, it was my old room. Before that, it was somebody else's. We changed rooms a lot in this house. And so this is made of felt, and it was just some sort of artwork that My Uncle Tony bought when he was down in Mexico or something. Next up is a tin sign. I love tin signs because I watched way too much Flipper American Pickers as a kid. And this is not an original, this is a reconstruction. But it's made from old Coca-Cola adverts. And weirdly enough, I don't even like Coca-Cola, but I think their history and branding is really interesting. I never mentioned it, but I actually have a rap song that is about Pemberton, who was the inventor of Coca-Cola. Which Coca-Cola is like totally like, yeah, he was just some cool dude who put some syrup and some carbonated water. But in real life, he was like a savvy businessman who was also a snake oil salesman and did a fuck ton of drugs. And I'm sorry, that's so much cooler than like whatever Coca-Cola legally has to say. Next up is some more vintage shit, because I'm a vintage bitch. We have, let's see, the Polaroid Original 600 series. So, I think it was year 20, gonna guess 2019, no, 2018. I bought myself a Polaroid camera from their vintage series that they were rerunning. So this was the 600 series, and I bought like, the starter pack, which came with like 3 things of film. I still have the Polaroid. I just don't use it because it's expensive. Like, it's super fucking expensive. But I just like keeping it up there to show that I'm like a cool bitch who like knows cameras or something. Next up is a postcard of Medford, Oregon during like, the early, I guess 30s from the looks of the Model Ts. And so basically, I love history, and I just love historical photos like that because they're so cool looking. I also collect postcards, and somewhere in this dog pile I call a room, I actually have my postcard book. Next up is my graduation hat. Oh, it has a name, graduation cap. There we go. And so I never mentioned this, but when I initially started college, I was actually wanting to double major. Still is a dream of mine, though, definitely raisin in the sun moment. And so basically, for this one, I wrote a really basic. It was in C. I don't remember exactly, but it was just like a little bit of code that I wrote that was like really tongue in cheek. So it literally says include some library, and that's just a bit filler. Let's see. Integer main function, return void, print f, and that's just binary for hello world, so another joke. Integer degree equals 0. Return if degree is incremented. And yeah. So it basically just means degree plus plus, like that's the joke. And then I put a comment with my name, my major, culinary arts, and the year I graduated. Actually, I hate taking it off because it takes forever to pop it back in, but the back side of my graduation cap is also decorated. So I fully decorated it with just some of the art supplies I got in my Scrawler box when I had it that year. And oh, thank God it fit back in. Next up is a newspaper clipping of... So there used to be this burger joint called, I think, Barney's Burgers, that's it. And it burnt down to the ground, like, when I was a kid. And I literally just kept a copy of the newspaper clipping the entire time. But I just love it because, like, it was a restaurant I really enjoyed. And it's not there in, like, the same way. Like, they changed owners. It still sells burgers, but I haven't been back since they burnt down. And that was when I was, like, 12. Interestingly enough, I'm at the same, like, around the same year that happened. Let's see, our Marie calendars also burnt down, and that kind of sad. Let's see, but I'm going to move on. So I just kept it there because I'm a weirdo who clips newspapers. Next up, these are both taken from calendars. And this is kind of like, a little vision board type thing because I'm an aesthetic bitch. This here is a Thunderbird. I don't remember what year or make and model. I just remember that it was a Thunderbird. I love Thunderbirds, just... They're one of my most favorite style of classical car, and I figured if I was ever going to own a classic, it would be something like that, just because I love the shape and the style of it. And next up, and here is actually my favorite dessert, which is tiramisu. And so I had actually clipped the recipe that this photo was in response to, and then I just pinned it to my wall, because I liked it, because it was something that made me happy. So moving down, we actually have a fairly new... Let's see, whatchamacallit. decoration for this wall. And this is just a map of the bus routes in Medford. I like to include this here because it's just a clear indicator of my location. I'm in Medford, so my wall says Medford on it. There you go. And it's like, because you notice that I definitely like to decorate with maps. I have those, highway maps on my wall there. I have my world map that's on my other wall, and now I have, this local map here. So it's something that I like to decorate with aesthetically. Next up is my Inner Grove poster. I don't think I've ever really talked about this poster before, but it's actually one of my most favorite posters that I own. So as you can tell, it's pretty small from the size of it, and Inner Grove was a noir adaptation of Rashomon, which, if you guys don't know, is a traditional, Korean play. It started off with a play, and it was based off, of an even older play, but then they finally adapted into a movie in the 1940s. And the whole story is, it's set up as a court drama, and it's all about sort of discovering truth, and how there's multiple perspectives, and it's trying to figure out, who killed who, and, who murdered who, and all this other stuff. But so that was adapted, which, it makes sense, into a noir, which actually shares a lot of the same themes. And so, there was a contest in our fine arts department, so all of the theater kids wrote their own version of it. And Katie Pelch, or Catherine Pelch as it says as it's listed, was the one that actually got the adaptation right. I remember seeing her, two others of her plays. One I think was called Untold, and the other one was, Are You a Man or a Dog? And those two were one acts, which were just fantastic. But I'll have to talk about, it might be fun to talk about, my high school theater in a video one of these days. But basically, it was set up as this priest who was trying to find out, this Catholic priest who was trying to figure out, what was happening with this court case, because he had, been seeing all these things, and he had actually known the guy who did it when he was a kid, before, his friend turned into a criminal, and the guy took his vows. And so, it was just, it had this really great, just, noir backing to it, and there's a lot of other really interesting things that made the play really unique, such as an interesting setup. For instance, I'm going to get off this in just a second, but basically the audience surrounded the stage. Instead of, the stage being, in front of the audience was actually split on either side. And so they would actually have actors walk around, where the audience was. And that gave us this sort of dramatic irony for the events that played out. And there's so many other great things about it, but that's really for another time. So I have two more things to show you on my wall. This is an abstract painting, and I don't remember who the painter is. I don't actually know who the painter is. But basically, it was also my grandmother's, actually. I remember she got it from one of her friends, and I believe it was the original artist who gave it to her, but don't quote me on that. And I really love the painting. It definitely, looking at the camera right now, and looking at how it, works in real life, you can definitely see a lot more of the whites, and a lot more of the, it's actually much more well contrasted in, the video right now than it is at real life, which is nice. I think the things I love about it is just, to me, it kind of looks like you're underwater, and you're looking up. But, it's peaceful, but it also just has this, I don't know, it has this character to it that I really love. Two things I do love is that sort of, stencil design that you really see at, the top half of the painting. I just love it because it's such an interesting use for, a painting. And then you have that really thick impasta. Impasta? I'm not Italian, so I apologize if I mispronounced that. That you see throughout the painting that actually gives it an extra level of depth. Another thing, and I'm going to stop being an art historian here in a second, is you notice these sweeping lines that go through the painting, and then you have these white lines that mirrored at the bottom. And so I really love that because you have that sort of geometrical parallelism throughout the entire painting. And so that wave design is just really well balanced as it flows down, but then you also have these linear streaks that cut through the painting. So from a like form perspective, there's also a lot of texture and detail there, which I love. So now that I put 500 words of why I think this painting is cool and I hung it on my wall, let's get down to like my final thing. And this is sort of like my newer thing, right? This is actually the vest I wore when I worked at Walmart. And you guys have to wonder, Ryan, why do you want to like, remind yourself that you were like, a minimum wage retail employee? And the way I see it is that when I was in Coos Bay, I was in a really bad place. And so working at Walmart was sort of a way that I could just have a breath of fresh air. It was a break. It was a rest stop in my life, a transitionary period. And while I definitely would not say that I enjoyed working at Walmart in Medford as much, I definitely did like my time working in Coos Bay. I didn't particularly care for the job. It did not excite me. But the company and the atmosphere was actually really nice. And so I keep, my vest here as a way to remind myself that, it's part of my history. And I feel that if you are going to live your best life, you cannot shy away from your past. It is part of you. Also, just as a little sneak peek, I keep my sunglasses in the pocket, so, extra storage. Anyway, guys, I think that is everything that is on my wall. And I'm just going to give you, like, a cutesy little pan here. And, yeah. So, guys, I really hope you enjoyed that video. And, that's just kind of an insight into some of my interests. I hope that gave you a little bit more of a understanding of my personality. Kind of see how I like to decorate things, what things are important to me. And maybe just giving you a little bit more of an insight into the types of things I like. Down in the comments, I want to hear what's the ways that you like to decorate your room. Do you have any decorating tips for me? And what was your favorite thing that you saw on my wall in either this video or my What's on My Other Wall video? Which I will constantly say like I am, can't remember her name, Christine, because that's my favorite running gag of that entire series. Anyway, guys, I really enjoyed making this video today, and I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching it. Just remember, you can like, because that lets me know that I'm doing a good job, and lets YouTube know that, you like my content, duh. You can comment, because I want to hear from you, and, just give me a shout out, roast me in the comments, tell me I am a horrible stuck-up bitch, whatever you want. It is fair game. And just, link and share. Because if you have a person in your life who wants to look at a random person from Medford, Oregon, talk about his wall hangings for 15 minutes, I'm your guy. And if you don't like that, I have plenty of other content. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but, take a look at my channel. I have a lot of playlists. I do that for a reason. That being said, I'm going to get off, all my advertisement in just a second. I also have the Boolean blog where you can check out, movie and TV show reviews. And I have my RJ's Dino blog, which I do pie recipes. And I'm hoping to expand that into, more food writing in the future. So if you guys don't want to see my face and maybe want to hear another form of my voice, I got you. Anyway, guys, that's going to be everything for this quarantine vlog. I just wanted to mention it because I wasn't too clear in a couple of my last episodes when I talked about it. But these quarantine vlogs are just sort of a little bonus extra thing. I'm also going to be doing my standard weekly vlogs that I have been doing for the last couple months. And so those will be going out along with my daily vlogs. And once the quarantine is over, I'm going to stop daily vlogging because I don't want you all the good content before we have time for it. Anyway, guys, thanks. I'm going to head out. I'm going to I have lots of stuff to do today, so. False Bulls 123, signing off.